Hey there, how you doing? Are you ready? Are you ready for the next week? Well, this is quite a dramatic one. In this forecast, I'm going to share some of my thoughts about this week ahead to give you a real sense of which days are really, really busy. You can see the 27th seems pretty busy. Also, the 29th is pretty busy. You can also see when maybe the quieter days are. So we'll be talking about the overarching theme of this coming week from the 26th of July right the way through to Saturday, the 1st of August. But I'm also going to break down Sunday specifically. The other days will follow, as you can see, Monday through Tuesday, right the way through to Saturday, as separate recordings. So this is about Sunday and the week ahead in general. So what's it all about? And that's the big question, isn't it? You know, over the last couple of weeks, we've been really talking about Bubbles Basket, which, as you might know, I describe as a boat. I'm turning my head to see it as a boat right now. I really do see it. The more I think about it, I really see it as a journey from Pluto right the way through to Jupiter. And there's a whole heap of reasons why I see it as a journey from Pluto to Jupiter, because Pluto's the slowest, Neptune is the next slowest, Uranus is the next slowest, so it's faster than Neptune, it's faster than Pluto, and then Jupiter is the fastest out of these four planets. And so, you know, once upon a time, you know, we would have had Jupiter in a conjunction with Pluto, would have had Uranus in a conjunction with Pluto, and Neptune in a conjunction with Pluto. The last time one of these made a conjunction with Pluto was back in 2020, when Jupiter made a conjunction with Pluto just in Capricorn. And what we're really living through now is how the skies have opened up since 2020. And as I shared in last week's weekly update, there are so many other patterns that are also playing into these times, you know, like the Pluto-Neptune sextile, the Pluto-Uranus trine, the Jupiter-Neptune trine. And now, of course, we're really feeling Pluto and Jupiter. I know Jupiter's just moving out of this this opposition as we're talking. However, these two planets are going to be really in a strong place in this week ahead. They're going to be, I think, heavily featured, not just in this next week, but over the next couple of months. And in fact, until Jupiter goes into the sign of Virgo, which isn't until early summer next year. So yeah, Pluto and Jupiter is what it's about. And this full moon that we've got coming up this next week is insane. Anyway, let's just pace you through some of the first things to happen, you know, the biggest things. So on Sunday, the 26th, which is tomorrow, I'm recording this on the 25th, we've got Saturn going retrograde. Now, you might ask yourself, well, what's Saturn about? Well, Saturn is our planet that rules Capricorn, and also, interestingly, is one of the rulers of Aquarius. It's the traditional ruler of the sign of Aquarius, and Aquarius is really strong in this week ahead. Now, Saturn is going retrograde. So that's interesting because not only have we got a lot going on in Aquarius this week, and we've got a couple of oppositions, and also the North Node is going into Aquarius and the South Node into Leo. So that's putting even more emphasis on Aquarius, but one of its rulers is going retrograde. To me, that is highlighting the Aquarian energy so much more than it would be. And this is what I really like about astrology, actually, because sometimes people, you know, might write in the comments, I'd be okay if it wasn't for my moon in Pisces or that aspect or whatever it is that we pin all of our upset on, or we pin all of our dreams on. You know, everyone, when they look in their birth chart, has got a dream aspect that they love and really love identifying with. And we've all got something that we don't like about our charts that we're a little bit pissy about, you know. And actually, when things really happen, they don't normally happen because of your difficult aspect. They happen because there's a complex layering of aspects going on. And that's what's happening in this week. We're really seeing the layering of things going on. So let's have a look. So on Sunday, Saturn's going retrograde. Now, Saturn, he's about our form, our shape, the containers that we are living our life in, how we organize things. Saturn is very discerning, very respectful, also very dismissive. Saturn can be a very dismissive son of a bitch, I have to say. Like, if you've met a Saturn type person, because they'll dismiss you and be kind of haughty. So we've all experienced that, I'm sure. And maybe we've even been that person from time to time. So Saturn, is slightly above it all. And Saturn doesn't always, he's always getting other people to get their hands dirty. But he's a planet that likes hard work, mostly when it's done for him. But he likes to oversee it. Saturn is a typical manager, VP type person who has standards. And so Saturn's known as being a bit of a cold fish. He's not the most endearing planet, and yet we all need him. Now, when he's externalized, i.e. when he's going direct, when he's moving normally, we get to experience the organization of your outer world. Now he's going retrograde. That's cueing us to internally look at our structures, like what the hell are we doing in our lives, and why, more importantly, like why is this going on? So that's changing the tempo somewhat. And it's interesting because just before that we had Mercury retrograde. He's just turned around in this last week, and Mercury was getting us to look at our ancient feelings, our old feelings about family loyalties, our old feelings like hurt feelings, private feelings. Now Saturn's coming and saying, okay, you're done with your feelings, or let's like stop worrying about our feelings right now. Let's look at our internal structures. How are they organized? And so Saturn's asking us to not take things too personally, but just kind of get on with the job. We've already identified a whole world of pain for ourselves, and now it's actually time to get to hard work and to review all of our internal structures. So I think this is quite helpful. But the very next day, we've got the true north node, and I just want to make a distinction here because you can't quite see it on astro.com. It's put in the mean north node. The true north node and the mean north node sometimes are in the same place, and sometimes they're just at like a couple of degrees apart. But the true north node is going into Aquarius on the 27th, and it's staying in Aquarius. That's its position. And then the mean, which is the average north node, is just hanging on in there in Pisces, but it will be moving over in Aquarius. So what's important to me is the actual north node is heading out. It really is in Aquarius now, and the Aquarian energy is what we're seeing as a challenge. It's the challenge that we're ready to face now, and it might start off gently, and some astrologers don't like the true north node, they like the mean north node. It doesn't really matter. Like, what we're seeing from Monday the 27th is that the north node, which is about our challenges, our karma, our direction, our human direction right now, it's now ready to fully embrace the challenges that Aquarius brings in, and also to integrate some of the learning that we get from the south node in Leo. So that's interesting. Saturn goes retrograde, then our karmic path as a human race is shifting, and that's going to, I think, signal lots of change for all of us. This might be, if you're using a whole sign chart, this is going to be putting an emphasis on a completely different house in your birth chart. If you're using Placidus, you might see that it's changing the emphasis in your life from where it's been, from Pisces, which is like a spiritual destiny. Now we're actually looking at, I think, integrating, bringing some of our spirituality down to earth. How can we be practical with it, and how can we make it work for everybody? So that's also a huge shift. The North Node changes signs roughly every 18 months, and each time it's teaching us as a human race something new. Now, interestingly, it also coincides with the markets changing, or the markets affected. They're affected. There's a couple of things happening. The other one would be the full moon later on the week. In the week, 2 days ahead, there's a full moon in Aquarius. So full moons and nodal changes can sometimes affect the markets. Also, the markets get affected when the outer planets shift. Now, our outer planets have been shifting all year, and we've also got Chiron that shifted very recently into Taurus and will shift back in September. However, what we've just gone through with Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, and now Jupiter has changed signs. They've all changed signs, funnily enough, in the order of the slowest changed signs, the longest to go, but all within a nodal pattern. Pluto's changed signs, Neptune changed signs, and Uranus changed signs. Now Jupiter's just changed signs. Now with a nodal shift, I think enough change has come about, and I think that's going to be reflected in the markets. Each of these outer planet changes and then the nodal change is signifying insecurity. And I think, I don't know this because I'm not a financial astrologer, and I'm absolutely not a financial person, full stop, though I did work in banks, weirdly, and was a trainer for them for many years. But that aside, markets, I think, are working on insecurity. When there's enough insecurity or a lot of change going on in humanity, they seem to shift. Like, your confidence in a market will make a huge difference. Like, because if you're not confident, all of a sudden people start selling really, really quickly. So there's all sorts of different things going on. But with all of these slow moving planets having moved into another sign, and then they've all lined up at 4 degrees, granted Jupiter's just moving out into the 5th degree. And now this nodal shift, I think the changes have been so much with humanity that something is possibly going to be shifting in the markets, and we get to see that. And then obviously the full moon on the 29th could very, very well also do a bit of a number on us. Now, on the day of the full moon, we've also got Jupiter Cazimi. Now, this is interesting. This happens every year, so it's not something rare as such. It's a yearly event. And what's happening is the sun's got close to Jupiter, and for quite a while, Jupiter's just been kind of burnt up by the sun's rays. But on the 29th, Jupiter, literally not that long before the actual full moon takes place, but Jupiter's just going to go right into the heart of the sun, right in the middle. And then it's like he's haloed. Yeah. And talking of Cazimis, I mean, we have a monthly Cazimi, which is actually the new moon. Obviously, this week we've got a full moon, but new moons, FYI, is when we see the moon and the sun working together. And that's why new moons seem so potent. The moon energy of intention setting seems so strong. But anyway, we've got Jupiter emphasized by the sun, and that's, if you think of the Jupiter energy, which is about expansion, it's about faith, it's about enjoyment, loving your life, growing, thinking in a moral way and in a way that really matches your sort of philosophical take on the world. Jupiter Cazimi could be a time for you to make future plans that feel expansive and feel like they're oriented towards your joy. And so the fact that this is happening right before the full moon in Aquarius is interesting, because full moons are potent anyway, and boy, do they get us. They show us what's too much for us, and they also show us what we want to let go of. At the time of the full moon, it's like everything has just got so big, and energy seems to just be quite chaotic around that time. It feels like, oh my God, stop, slow down. The full moon is fulsome. There's not much retreat space from it. It just seems to take up space. But when we look on the day of the full moon, you've actually got the sun and Jupiter exact at 6 degrees. And then the moon is in a very, very tight a very tight conjunction with Pluto. So you've got moon and Pluto, and then Jupiter and the sun working together. Well, to me, this is an extra layering of Bubbles' basket, or the boat, as I've suggested. So it's as if the basket comes back into sharp focus again. And all of a sudden, we're really feeling the energies, only this time it's hitting us personally. So Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, they're all outer planets. They're showing where the outer world is shifting, and it's all kind of shifting in sync. It's like there are wheels within wheels, and their cogs, have just all kind of interlaced, and now they're like really working very quickly. And Jupiter's a bit of a bridging planet, so he's slowly trying to filter these messages from the outer world and our understanding of it, through the medium of our culture, so that we hear the message. And then with this full moon at the maximum point of tension that we would ever experience, this full moon is, I think, going to be moving us. It's huge, huge energy, because Jupiter's going to make it huge. Jupiter's all about expansion, and he's leading this energy. So this is about our expansion and also our personality, our sovereignty. And then the moon, our emotions, they're dramatic in that conjunction to Pluto. We're feeling things really, really deeply. Now, if we also remember, Pluto's the god of the underworld and Jupiter is the god of the heavens, I really think that this is a dark to light situation where we may have very, very strong feelings where we feel like we've been in the dark and we faced our own personal hell, maybe since the time of Jupiter and Pluto in their conjunction in the late degrees of Capricorn at the end of 2020. I think it was November 2020 when they came into conjunction. And now there's something new coming in. There's this new sense of I hope it's hope. Jupiter and the sun, I really hope we're leading with hope. We're leading with us wanting to come into our own sense of recovery. But to me, this seems very, very strong. And then obviously alongside this week, we've got other things going on. So, the sun is also, because the sun, sorry, I've got a really itchy nose. I've cleaned out the birds. I've been doing stuff with the cats and doing stuff with the kids. And so I think I've got a bit of an allergy. Anyway, the sun in this position here is obviously making an opposition to Pluto, a trine to Neptune, a sextile to Uranus. So again, the barbel's basket, the boat is coming in again, this time at a very, very personal level where we identify it. As we go through the week as well, as the moon comes in here, the moon is going to make the conjunction with Pluto, opposition to Jupiter at the time of the full moon, and also this sextile and this trine. So again, that whole basket scenario is coming in really personally. So not just with our identity, but also with our feelings, very strong feelings. This is an incredible week to get very clear about where you're going and what you want to do. It's as if we felt this basket energy for a really long time, and now we've sat on it for a bit and we're starting to think, okay, I need to do this. Things are going to start moving. And I really think this is going to really get things moving. And of course, our cultural and human challenge as represented by the North Node is also shifting at the same time. So I think everything is coming into a step of some sort. I don't want to say lockstep, but all of a sudden it's like we're putting our best foot forwards, and there's going to be a time when everything Aquarian and everything Leo is just on the table again. Over the time of this North Node in Aquarius transit, the North Node is going to make a conjunction to Pluto. It's going to be really intense. That's not until the end of 2027. But Jupiter is going to make 3 conjunctions with the South Node over this next 18 months. And that's going to remind us of who we were and actually maybe where we've done those lessons, but also it's going to remind us of some of the things that we need to remember about ourselves so we don't completely lose our humanity. So these are huge times. You can see why this is quite simply a dramatic week. So anyway, when you're looking at this, you can see that Monday the 27th looks big, and then Thursday the 29th, they're the really big days. The 28th, the 30th, and the 1st, they're our quietest days. So if you need to be doing something where you don't want to be distracted by other people's dramas and big things, the 28th, the 30th, and the 1st, they're your hot days for getting some stuff done. Anyway, that's giving you a sense of this week ahead. Let's now have a look at Sunday specifically. So Sunday, the 26th of July, 2026, then that's the day that's kicking this off. From my position, my location in the London time zone, I'm actually just north of Lisbon in Portugal. We've got the moon going into Capricorn just after midday. And what that means is in the morning, we're a little bit more laid back, a little bit more hopeful and philosophical, and maybe want to get out and about in the fresh air. And then later on in the day, we're a bit more serious, a bit more reflective, a little bit more quiet. possibly taciturn. So I really imagine we'll be getting stuff done. Now, I mentioned yesterday that there would be a feeling that different parts of the world were reacting in different ways. I put that down to the fact that if you're in Australia and New Zealand versus Hawaii, the difference between the time when Capricorn moves, like the moon moves into Capricorn, that's going to make a difference as to which moon is really ruling which country. So I'm not going to talk so much about the moon sign, but I'll talk about the enduring aspects that are coming up, because the moon slowly moves into them and slowly moves out of them. So they're still valid for both locations, I would say. So anyway, the sextile to the North Node that the moon's going into on Sunday is suggesting that one of the things that we can absolutely be working on is our orientation in life. You know, it's important just right now because it does look like the world is set to change or pivot in some way. I think it's important to know what our values are, our core values, because you know, we can orient ourselves according to our money, or we can orient ourselves according to our work or our kids. But actually, I think the safest thing we can do right now is orient to our values, orient to what feels right for us. Like, what values do you hold in esteem? Like for me, it's freedom and independence. And, you know, one of my core values, I think, is truth. So for me, you know, I might orient myself towards freedom and truth and ask, what in my life is helping me to feel free right now? What in my life is helping me to feel honest? What in my life is orienting me in a direction that matches what feels right for me? And you must do the same. So this sextile to the North Node, I think, is an orientation point. And you can do that whether the moon's in Capricorn or Sagittarius. You know, to me, it just feels like that's coming in as a theme. Saturn retrograde is also, as it comes in, it's asking us about our own internal planning. You know, where are we? You know, where are we planning according to the information that has been revealed since Mercury retrograde? You know, with our hurty feelings that have happened, you know, what changes do we need to make structurally in our lives? And then Moon trine Chiron is encouraging us to go easy on ourselves. It's encouraging us, I think, to go into forgiveness. It's asking us to forgive ourselves. It's asking us to forgive other humans around us. You know, we all mess up sometimes. And to me, this is a very human moment. So I really think human moments are coming up on Sunday. You know, our orientation because of our values, our internal logistics going on, and then our invitation to feel as human as possible and to, you know, like start again almost. Just think, you know, we're all humans here. We're all having a human experience. Some of us have messed up. We've all messed up in different ways. And most of us, I think, have messed up without meaning to hurt other people. To me, this is asking us to tune into, our humanity as much as possible. But then the moon square Neptune, we need to, I think, just be a little bit cautious of, because this is the very last one that's happening. As the moon goes into a square with Neptune, we can sometimes feel a bit disillusioned, and we can sometimes feel a little bit lost, a little bit disengaged, a little bit disempowered. Neptune really fogs up issues. So, you know, if you're feeling quite confident and oriented in a particular direction, and you're also feeling quite liberated from some of the hard feelings that you've had maybe over the last few weeks, maybe over the last couple of years, to me, if you get a bit tired or you get a little bit sensitive, just remind yourself of when you were in a slightly stronger place, because this moon square Neptune could actually undo the work you've been working on, if that makes sense. So go easy on yourself. Write down the things that really resonate. Record yourself. If you're going for a walk, like, talk to yourself, record yourself so you can hear yourself think. Sometimes that's a really valuable resource. But to me, Sunday, as we go further into the day, it gets more and more reflective. Now, as we go through the rest of the week, you know, as we head into Monday and Tuesday and then Thursday, which is a really big day, lots of other things are going to come up. But what happens on Sunday, I think, is going to be really useful. So, like, take good care of your thinking. Like, don't think it and then discard it. Like, find some way to revisit it, even if it's just a little note that you write yourself and you keep by your desk or you keep in your purse and you just check in with it. or send it to you. Take a photo of it in your phone, put a reminder in, whatever you need to do to remind yourself of your core values, your orientation, and to not give up hope, to not be disenfranchised, because this week could test us, and it could really test our direction and test our faith. But I actually think we're going to be all right. So I'm going to leave that there. Like I said, I'm going to be talking so much more over the coming days. Like each day there's going to be another breakdown. So if that's been helpful, I really hope it has, then thumbs up. I'm really happy for you. Have a great start to this next week, and to tomorrow, Sunday the 26th, and I'll be back with another forecast real soon. Lots of love. Bye for now.